8 and Ayuyu. It is now 6 p.m. and we call this meeting to order. It is September 10, 2025. We are here at the Dededo Senior Citizens Center. It is now 6 p.m. This is the Dededo Municipal Planning Council regular meeting. In compliance with the open government law, this meeting was published on the Guam Daily Post on September 3, 2025 and September 8, 2025. It was also published on the Guam portal. Additionally, this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on our Dededo Mayor's Office YouTube page. Before we go any further, I do AC James Ed Gaza here. Okay, Arthur Chan here. Hilario Manalo absent. Samuel absent. Teresa Medina absent. Nicholas Garrido's absent. Karina Roberts absent. Vice Mayor and Chair Nathan Cepeda is absent. Myself here, the team here. We only have 5 members present. We do not have a quorum, but we can proceed with the regular meeting. Before we go any further, I have a few presenters here this evening. To begin with, it's going to be Mr. Kyle, who's representing
Oh, yes.
Hello there. Okay, hi. My name is Kyle Borja, and I represent Sky Guam Distributors. How's it going? My name is Kyle Borja, and I'm here representing Sky Guam Distributors with the Zone Change application. Tonight, I'm joined by James Agrawal from the Agrawal family, the founders and operators of Sky Guam Distributors. Sky Guam was established in 2015 and primarily focuses on the wholesale distribution of U.S., Philippine, Indonesia, and Taiwan food and non-food products. Some of their products include banana ketchup, dried coconut snacks, coconut ice cream, and coconut ice cream. They have 16 employees, and their customers and clients are small mom and pop stores, major grocery chains, construction companies, restaurants, hotels, and corporate offices. My presentation tonight will follow these 4 topics: why are we here, what is proposed, your questions and comments, and what happens next. Why are we here? Tonight we are here because Sky Guam has applied for a zone change from C to M1 on lot 5310-7 in the Bukadu area of Dededo. The rezone process requires a formal written application, which the Dmpc should have received several hard copies of, various forms of general public and adjacent neighbor notice, and about 4 public hearings. The purpose of these is to have the request vetted by the relevant Guam agencies, the immediate community, and the corresponding Dmpc. The reason for Sky Guam's zone change request is because they would like to expand to the land uses of warehousing and cold storage for their wholesale distribution business. According to the zoning code of Guam, wholesale and retail stores, shops, and businesses are permitted use in the commercial zone, in addition to the accessory uses that are necessary for the ordinary conduct of said uses. However, warehouses and cold storage plants are only permitted in the M1 zone. To remain competitive in business and improve its product and service offerings, Sky Guam intends to add warehousing and cold storage into its wholesale distribution abilities. What is proposed? Lot 5310-7, the project site, is located in the Bukadu area, just south of the former Finnebagan military housing, almost directly behind the Route 3 dialysis clinic. The site was cleared under clearing permit G21034 in 2024. So the property has already been cleared. These photos were taken not too long after clearing it, and then here's a photo of the the clearing permit on site. Here's also a photo of the unnamed access road of which Sky Guam will enter. This is a more current site photo just taken about 2 weeks ago. With the rezone sign on the property. Sky Guam is proposing 2 structures on lot 5310-7, which will be constructed in 2 separate phases. Phase 1 will be an 11,000 square foot building, and then phase 2 will be an approximate 3,000 to 5,000 square foot building. Coming in off of Route 3, now the Brigadier General Ben Laws Memorial Highway, we enter an unnamed 100-foot right-of-way easement. That's this one. Which lot 5310-7 has 260 feet of frontage on. Sky Guam understands and accepts that they carry the burden and costs to install the adequate infrastructure for their development. Sky Guam has retained the services of EMSCO engineering consultants for their development. EMSCO calculates the water and wastewater demand, daily demand at 1,200 gallons per day for both sewer and water demand. For power demand for building 1, the estimated energy consumption is 54,096 kilowatt hours. For building 2, it's 1,460 kilowatt hours. For traffic generation analysis, they have the mean number of vehicles per day at 30. The maximum number of vehicles per day is 300. The morning peak is 3. The afternoon peak is 5. And the maximum during peak hours is 37. Parking adheres to the zoning code requirements. Stormwater will be managed on site through an EPA permitted percolation basin or chamber. Trash will be regularly picked up by a commercial trash service vendor. A fire hydrant for the area will be installed along the easement. The perimeter of the property will be a combination of chain link fence and concrete block retaining wall. Feedback from the application review committee was positive. Bulk of the concerns stemmed from a lack of infrastructure in the area, but Sky Guam understands that they bear the cost of infrastructure for their development to connect to Route 3, which is at the end of this. More recent developments. Since the submittal of the zone change application in January 2025, Sky Guam in April decided to initiate application for building permit for phase 1 only, but has yet to be approved. The phase 1 building is allowable under the C zone regulation regarding wholesale businesses, but the full warehousing and cold storage uses are not currently allowable. Sky Guam acknowledges that should the zone change request be denied by the GLUC, they will not be able to expand into full warehousing and cold storage uses. In order to keep the project's momentum alive and guarantee prices for labor and materials, Sky Guam decided to initiate application for building permit for phase 1 only. Phase 2 is expected at a future undetermined date should business warrant further expansion. Adjacent neighborhood outreach and letters of support. In addition to the required 500-foot certified no notices to property owners, Sky Guam also intends to reach out as a good neighbor to the adjacent landowners. Sky Guam has sent a notice letter to Dr. Safa and extends an open invitation to the Castro Camacho family to discuss the project and any concerns they may have. Sky Guam has also garnered letters of support for the project that will be added into the final application pack. I'd like to thank the mayor, vice mayor, and their team for setting up all these hearings, and thank you. That concludes my presentation. I can now take any questions you have. Thank you.
Members, you guys have any questions for Mr. Borja?
No questions. Before we go any further, tonight's discussion will just be for informational purposes only, because we do not have a board, so we cannot vote on the issue. But yes, so if there's no questions, we'll move on to the next presenter. Thank you.
Just to include the street also, right?
Yes, so, just to note though, they won't be developing the entire easement.
Okay.
Just to note, it is 100-foot right of way, so it's about as wide as Route 3 itself.
So it's from Route 3 into their building,
Yes,
just up to there.
I kind of have a property map that can show better than you.
so here is Route 3, here is the dialysis clinic, and then this is their property. So they're probably only going to develop a 20-foot stretch of road just to be able, just for about. So, their vehicles and stuff can access. But the road is actually pretty leveled already, regular sedan car could drive in there. But from what I understand, currently the road only ends here, so it doesn't yet go all the way. But in the future, it seems to be planned like that, because it is 100-foot road of way. So. Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Borja? Okay, thank you, Mr. Borja. Moving on to our next presenter, it's going to be Mr. Felix Benaventi for Zone Change Application 2025-07, application number 2025-07. The applicants Eddie Cruz Pro, Jason Catalto, and Mary Audrey C. Catalto, presented by FC Benaventi Planners, are requesting a zone change from R1 family dwelling zone to C commercial zone for the proposed construction of a wholesale and a retail hardware store with an accessory storage building on lot 10062-1-R7 in the municipality of Vill. So, Mr. Felix.
Thank you, Mayor. I can illustrate the application for zone change from R1 to commercial, lot 10,062, 1-R7. A quick take you to the site. This is Harmony Road. Dededo, across the street is the DPW bus satellite station, and these are swimming pools and recreation area. Again, this is Harmony Road. This area here is San Brothers. This is the subject lot. 10,062-1-7. Across the street is the local skating area. We also have King's, gift shop, and Dr. Aviga's clinic here. So we kind of outlined this, I'll get into that further. But the lot is back here, basically behind Sang Brothers, that you can't see from the road. Well, actually you can. I have a slide that shows it. The lot is part of an original parceling created by the Colombo family in 1994. So this is where it is, right off of Harlem Loop Road. San Brothers is over here. There's a gravel road that takes you back. Right now, it's not used, so and I have some pictures of it. It is right up to this point. It's paved, and it's not paved. It's gravel based, and then up here, it's not improved. Like I said, the locomotive staging area is back here, and we'll show some pictures, and there's some buildings here. So this is the subject lot, and it is vacant, unimproved at this time, right behind the San Brothers property. What the property owners are proposing is to have two commercial buildings. Building A will be the main storage building. Customer service area will be building B. The project will connect to public sewer as required. Stormwater will be contained on site, again as required. Trash will be disposed of by a commercial company. It will have 32 parking spaces, including for ADA, and the project site will be fully fenced. and we'll have perimeter landscaping and throughout as it goes. This is a site plan. Again, this is in blue, is the property boundary line. Building B, building A, parking is in the back, these 32 parking spaces. In addition to some here, storm drains will be placed throughout here. This is the entrance. Again, the property map shows a proposed turnaround. The Docomo lot is here, and the other storage building is there. Docomo, Sand Brothers is right behind. This is a slide, again, showing the whole area with the subject lot. As you can see, the subject lot is vacant, right behind Sand Brothers, across the Docomo storage lot, a commercial building is here, the gift shop and shoe store, where your home is still there, and the illegal clinic is back here. I highlight this slide because the whole area is surrounded by residential. Summer Palace subdivision is here, the subdivision over here, the Andrew Church is back here, and of course this is Harmonwood Road. When these lots were created, they were created almost as a pocket. As you can see, they're almost all commercial, except for this particular lot. These lots are walled separately from the adjacent properties. So they are not a part of the adjacent property. You can't get to here. You can't get, you can't get to there from here. It's completely walled off. And I'll show you a slide that when you look at the area, it does have, again, this is a slide that shows you the kind of uniqueness of this block of lots. It's unusual, but that's what it is. So all of these lots are commercial, except for this corner lot here. If you look at the area across the street, I took this from the bus stop across the street. This is Harmonwood Road. If you look at the area, it has a commercial strip look. So everything from the Sand Brothers over here, the gift shop, shoe store, a legal clinic, is all commercial. The Palomo Dededo property is back here. You drive in through this little road, and it's back here, as well as the Docomo outside storage area. That's not what they call it, but that's what it looks like. They have a whole bunch of stuff back. So again, the subject lot is actually a part of this whole block of properties back there. And they're all fully closed by a concrete wall. These are pictures. This is the proposed turnaround that I showed you. This is the property. The back side shows you some of the Docomo, like I said before. It is not conducive to single family residential. That is right now in R1 zone, in the middle of a block of commercial lots. Again, this is across this road, the property is over here. Looking at it, it is not a good site for residential. This is a picture of the backside. These are the little areas here. There's some metal here. So I'm standing at the corner of the back of the lot, looking towards the Docomo lot, right? So there's this wall here. These are houses in the back, and there's a barbed wire. So as you can see, it is not a part of a residential area, even though right next door is an R1 zone. This is a picture from that same corner of the back of the lot, looking towards the back of Sang Brothers. Over here on the left side, again, you see the concrete wall with the barbed wire. This is the multi-family building that is a condominium right behind Sang Brothers. This is a picture of the pond basin. Again, this is, I'll point this out to you. The pond basin is right at the back corner of the property, across that wall. There was a time, Mayor, when we talked about, EPA was talking about possibly connecting sewer from this road here, inside the property. Even if it was a GWA line, there is no easement to connect us to the property from the back. The plan is to connect the sewer line out to Harmon Loop Road. But that was one of the things that was brought up at the ARC meeting. Can we connect to the sewer line here? Well, there is no easement to connect to that sewer line. And we don't even know if there's the capacity to handle it. This is another picture. Again, the property is over in this direction. This is the back wall of Sang Brothers. So, one more picture, I'm sorry. But this is from the back, looking straight out to Harmon Loop Road. Okay, the Sang Brothers is over here, well, right out here. Harmon Loop is right here, and these are the commercial buildings on the right side. So, I'll just do a quick slide to highlight again why the Paloma Picatow family has submitted this application, because their lot back here really doesn't make sense to stay an R1 zone. It is within a pocket of commercial zone, completely closed by a wall fence, separate from the existing residences adjacent to it. These properties were zoned by legislative action, but did not include this lot. So we are submitting this application to rezone this property from R1 to commercial, just to do a uniform zoning, and to have the Paloma family make use of their property. And again, I just want to highlight that it doesn't make sense to put a single family house back here.
Mr. Director, real quick, I'm sorry, before we proceed any further, guys, we do have a bar now, so I just want to make it known that with the presence of Mr. Ronald A, we do have a bar, so I'm going to have to just reintroduce you guys so that we are following the, sorry guys, this is my first rodeo as far as this is concerned, but I just want to make sure we're doing everything correctly. So at this point in time, I just want to make notice of our MPC member, Mr. Robert, putting up to company a forum so that we can move forward here with us. The time is now 6:25. Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Mr. Kyle. First, I'm so sorry, gentlemen, but thank you very much. But yes, Mr. Kyle, Borja. This is going to be for item A on the new business PC number GLC Zone Change application 2025-18 Sky Guam Distributors being represented by Kyle and Borja, requesting for a zone change from C commercial zone to F1 light industrial zone to allow for warehousing, cold storage capabilities, and a wholesale distribution center on lot 53107-7 in the municipality of Dededo. Thank you, guys. Kyle?
Hello. I'm just going to give a quick run through for Mr. Paulina. I represent Sky Guam Distributors. They're a local wholesale distribution company. They mostly focus on Philippines, US, Indonesia, Taiwan, and food and non-food products. And they purchased this property, well, currently they're renting, and they've been renting since they started the business. But now business has grown to a point where they're ready to purchase their own land, build their own facility, and finally get rent out of their expense equation. So this is the location, lot 5310-7. It is almost directly behind the Route 3 dialysis clinic. And yeah, even though it looks like one lot, it's actually two lots behind the dialysis clinic. These are photos of the site. The site has already been cleared. It did get a properly permitted DPW clearing and grading permit. So basically, well, where they're at in the project now is pending building permit. I kind of advise them to maybe wait until the process is done to apply for building permit. But with the way the construction labor and materials prices are going, they asked me, can we just start applying? And they did. They still haven't been approved though. So that's kind of where the project's at. But I also wanted to note that what they're going for is really just warehousing and cold storage. You know, so now they can bring in frozen produce and stuff like that. Let me show you this second map. This is a current photo about 2 weeks ago. Nothing's really going on the side, it's just overgrown now. But they do have the rezone sign on site. Here's a photo of the proposed facility. So it'll be built in 2 phases. Phase 1 will be their primary building, which is about 11,000 square feet. And this is what they have building permit for now. So it's just phase 1 only. Phase 2 is for a 3,000 to 5,000 square foot building. But this is future plan should business warrant further expansion. This leads out to Route 3. So of course they have to bring in all the infrastructure up to their point of connection, which they're fully aware of. They can't get the project done without that. So that's crucial. All parking requirements are met. Stormwater will be disposed of and treated on site. Trash will be picked up by a commercial trash vendor. They do plan to install a fire hydrant along the easements. As you know, these applications go through the application review committee, which is made up of GPA, DPW, all the permitting agencies basically. And for the most part, a bulk of their concerns was just that lack of infrastructure. But they understand that that's a requirement for development. So they're aware of that. So, all right, if you have any questions, share.
Sorry, I just have a question. I'm familiar with the location and just full disclosure, I did have real estate license. So, I'm familiar with this property because or maybe it's close to it. There are other properties that we're looking to sell, but at one point there is a Navy sewer line.
Yes.
Yeah, water line. So I just wanted to understand where does that cross, because that was a big issue that was not going to be, there's parameters for it.
Right here.
Yeah, so where's the subject line?
So the subject line is -7. Okay. You're correct, because this is return land, there's a bunch of, not unknowns, but special features to it.
Yeah,
So,
on the lot 5 with the sewer line, you can't build on it. So, yeah, I just wanted to understand that, I know that you, of course, you've done the due diligence, so I just wanted to understand where the proximity of that lot, because knowing that issue was definitely difficult for those lots to be sold.
right.
So, yeah, I'm curious that you're in clear.
And it is noted on this map that it is an easement, so you're correct. That piece of property is reserved.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you. Any other questions? Sure. Yes, sir.
What's the name of the owner?
The Agabao family, Jay Agabao is my counterpart, their son. They are locally owned, they're from Dededo. They currently rent out of the Mariana Steam Agency building. So I think that building has like 3 bays, so they're one of the 3. So, but this will be completely their own building and their own operation. They want to make it a center, a distribution center. That's basically what it is. So, thank you. Sure. Any other questions for Mr. Borja? Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Borja.
Thank you.
Then, moving on to our next presenter again, Mr. Felix Dmpc. For GLUC Zone Change Application 2025-07. Application number 2025-007, the applicants Eddie Cruz, Jason S. Tataltau, and Mary Audrey C. Tataltau, represented by FC Dmpc. Planners are requesting for a zone change from R1 to C commercial zone for the proposed construction of a wholesale and a retail hardware store with an accessory storage building on lot number 10062-1-R7 in the municipality of Dededo. Mr. Felix.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and Vice Mayor, thank you, the council for allowing us to make this presentation. The application is requesting to rezone lot 10,062-1-R7, this lot, in Dededo, from R1 to commercial. The property is within a block of commercial lots, right adjacent to the Summer Palace subdivision and there's a subdivision on this side. This is Harmony Road. The adjacent property uses are Sand Brothers on the front, the local outside storage area is across the street. There's also a storage building here and the used to be Keys and a LG gift shop here. There's also Dr. Aliga's dental clinic. So this area of Dededo is unusual in that it's, like I mentioned before, it's a pocket of commercial within a zone and R1 area. Actually, some of our is a PUDs, primary development, which is a mixture of apartments here and single family houses. Across the street is a public works school bus satellite station and parks and rec swimming pool and other parks and rec facilities. So that takes you to the location. This is a property map, and I bring this up because the lot here is the one that was requested a zoning for. As you can see, when this property map was created in 1994, they had a common road. So there is an intent to cluster all these lots around this road. The Summer Palace subdivision was already in existence. Single family houses were already back here. The Andrew King Church is back here. Again, this is the Arnold Road. So it is a separate cluster of lots in this part of Dededo. And next slide I just want to describe what they're planning here. They want to have two one-story commercial buildings. Building A will be a main storage. B will be the primary customer service area. We'll connect the public sewer. Stormwater will be contained on site. Dumpsters will be on site with trash pickup by a contractor. We'll have 32 parking spaces identified, including ADA, and it is already actually fully fenced, the back side and the side. This is the site plan. This is the location of building B, building A. This is the access road with the roof turnaround. These are the parking spaces in the back, 32 in all. These are percolation trenches to contain stormwater. Well, 20 feet away from the property as required from the property line. Back here is the neighbor. Again, just to highlight, this is a cluster of commercial with the only R1 lot inside it. So the Palomo family has been working to get this property rezoned because it just doesn't make sense to put single family houses in this cluster. It is completely walled away from adjacent residential properties. Just another slide and make it look like it just pops up. It's a whole commercial cluster with this R1 piece back here. Rezoning it commercial will make the whole area uniform and allow the Colonial family and the Dededo family to use their property, which they're very difficult to do now. This is a picture from across Honolulu Road, taken from like where the bus stop is. So when you look at the area, it's a commercial strip. Back here is the property. There's a road between Sky Brothers and this warehouse building here. You drive in there, and this is where actually this green area is the Colonial Dededo property. These are pictures of the property across the street, the local storage site. Again, it doesn't make sense to have R1 across the street from it. Some more pictures of the, what kind of activities across the street. Picture from the back, looking towards the local property, the single family houses back here, separated by this wall with the barbed wire on top. So it is, even though it's R1 and the lots next door are R1, basically, they're not in the same cluster. They have a different access road. Again, from the back corner of the property, looking to the front, our little road area back here. This is the existing condominium apartment building. And right across the wall where I was standing is the pond basin. Right behind the condominium building. This is another picture of the separation between the subject property here, that direction, and Stein Brothers. There's a wall separating the properties with the existing neighbors. Back here is that apartment condominium building that I was telling you about. Another picture looking towards Honolulu Road. That one picture we had when we showed the whole strip was looking in this way. Now this is the picture looking out. This is the Stein Brothers. This is the commercial building right across the street, and the other building. There was and the mayor asked me to bring this up. There was a previous application on this property submitted back in 2015. And at that time, there was a lease that was being contemplated between Sky Brothers and this property. The main complaint by neighbors were from this condominium apartment buildings here. And it was because it was alleged that Sky Brothers, remember I told you there's a retaining wall around the property. They were leaning many of their materials or whatever on the wall, which was a encroachment on private wall, right? You shouldn't do that. And there was also complaint that there was welding and noise. So the Sky Brothers organization responded, and they really didn't feel that they were complaining. And that's one of the good things about these public hearings, right, Mayor and Vice? It brings people to bring up issues that they've had for many years that they don't know what to talk about. So when events like this come up, it's healthy. You know, the neighbors kind of come up and say, okay, I'll let them do it. So what Sky Brothers did was, when they were made aware of this, I asked because the mayor asked me to address this, I asked them to put it down here. Go ahead. Yes. I don't know. It's a three-page letter, double space, but it basically, it's addressed to me because I asked him, like, should I told him to address it to the mayor? But it says that, these are their efforts to address the concern involving use of the reference properties R7. I'll just refer to it as R7. And R7 is the subject lot. R7 is the colonial bedrock lot. And for background purposes, San Brothers operates construction materials and supply store on two lots, 1-4 and R7. Harmony, Vill, and Summer Palace, that's the general area. That's page 1. So they leased R7 back in 2009 and began using it around 2013 as a holding site for construction materials. And I think this was brought up here by one of the members, that it was a vacant lot and they were using it for storage. Well, they were using it for storage. When in February 2014, they received a letter from, I think, Attorney Berman. Okay, we have that letter, of violations of zoning. That their company was leaning construction materials against the perimeter wall and was violating setback requirements. And since that time, San Brothers has taken steps to address those by removing all materials previously staged in Lot 7, R7, that they had stored on that vacant lot. They took them all away. If you go out there, there's nothing. And there's pictures I was taking that I showed you were taken from that lot. There's nothing on that lot except for green. And relocating all materials away from the wall. So any materials that were leaning against the neighborhood wall were taken away. And reminding employees on a regular basis not to put them there or that the work area. So the employees are constantly don't put anything against the wall. And they also are considering constructing their own wall. They do need to put, they consider putting up their own wall. Regarding the allegations that employees were welding, they assert that our company does not allow welding on any materials on our premises. Additionally, so I remember there were some people that brought up points about there was welding going on. There's no welding. Additionally, the store operations, which run only from Monday to Saturday, ends at 5 o'clock. So there was some comments about working late at night and all that. So it's right here, signed by San Brothers. So they close at 5. There's no leaning of materials against the wall. There's no welding. And an additional thing is that their employees, some of the young forklift operators lift these metal square poles, and when they drop them, they climb. So now they're asked to drop them slowly or move that to the front of the compound, not in the back where the condominium owners are. And by the way, they canceled the lease on R7, this lot, because they couldn't use it, and they have been doing that since they stopped it since 2014. So this is just as a background, because some of you may be familiar with this case. This is over 10 years ago, 2014. Not 2010. It's 10 years ago. So San Brothers apologizes to the family of Summer Palace, and is actually just that portion that is connected to that, is not connected to the wall, but behind the wall, which is the multifamily condominium tenants. There is no single family house adjacent to St. Brothers. For any, they apologize to neighbors and Dededo for any disruptions or inconveniences that the operations may have caused more than 10 years ago. They learned from their errors and work hard in the months and years ahead as we have these past 4 years to earn the support and trust of the neighbors. With the support of their loyal employees, St. Brothers probably contributes to the economy. They have, I don't know how many employees they got, but they hire people. They are cognizant of their responsibility to be good neighbors within the community of Dededo and the broader island of Guam. Signed by Kevin Pan, the manager at St. Brothers. So, this is just some background. But that is not the photo's doing. Like I mentioned, this is that area of contention. Only this portion of the property. This is the apartment condominium that raised many of the concerns.
So they're still there, that apartment, right?
Yes.
Were they notified of what you're trying to do right now?
They were notified at the land management public hearing, the old office. Yes. Some of them for that. And I go where there's that. We know about that, and the mayor has to address those. They're not here, but they were here at the land management public hearing because they owe us letters. They owe us letters with 500 feet, and they showed up when they raised the concern. So we're bringing that up. So that was their, this was about 10 years ago, but they're bringing it up. And again, the complaint is against St. Brothers, not Paloma.
Well, because there's nothing there yet.
Yeah, so,
But that's the whole reason why I'm asking if they're aware of what's the future of that land, if it was to become a commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything is good, and I understand you're saying like it's a building, like you're repeating the C2 over and over, like we get it, like, to me, I think it's okay as long as the residents there were given a notification and they're okay with it, you know what I mean? Like, other than that, I don't see any reason why it should still be a residential. As long as that area there, like the people there are okay with it.
and I apologize ad nauseum for repeating it, but that was kind of like.
Sorry, that was my fault.
Yeah.
For not coming on time. I do have some specific questions, for building B that's proposed, what is the setback, to the boundary, for that building B? So that, where you mentioned the water containment, what is the setback to that property line? To that, the boundary to the north. So building B, so to the north, so to your right,
Yes,
yeah, so where those drainage,
yes,
so building B, and then to that boundary line, right next to the right of B, what is the distance there?
20 feet.
That's 20 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is the legal setback required on land management. If you are a commercial adjacent to residential. And the same as over here.
And then what is the width of the easement coming into the road? Is that a 20-foot easement? The width of the easement, to the main, that's, yes. Just because as a warehouse business, of course, there's going to be, trucks going through, both directions. I'm just trying to understand, because of the photo that I know it has some vegetation, so between the two St. Brothers and the shopping complex, just want to understand what the easement.
a separate lot, there should be public access and continue
Yeah. Is that a break in the property? Are they sharing that?
This one,
Are they giving easement access? Each property is.
they're separate. If you notice,
Yeah,
this
so,
lot is got its own R number. This lot has an R number right here, and this portion of the road has R number. So they're pulled out. They're not part of the property.
okay, so they were each granted in order for there to be an easement, so they each granted a piece of the portion. So I just wanted to understand, is that meet the standard with 40 feet, or is it 20? What is the easement size, the width?
It's at least 20 feet. 20 feet either, so it's at least 40.
Yeah, so that's my assumption, it's just, it's, as well as the easement, because the photo you sent with or showed with the vegetation of the between the sand, it looks kind of small, so I just wanted to make sure there was proper easement, knowing that you've got additional activity, Docomo, as well as what is being proposed, quite a bit of traffic going in and out. The next question I have is the wall height. So the wall height, what is the wall height, that surrounds, most especially I'm concerned about that is the boundary of the summer palace. It appears to be, what, I think, 5 to 6 feet.
It ranges because it's low. Towards the lower side, where the founding basin is, this is the founding basin.
Yeah.
It's higher.
Sure. Yeah, it's sloping, yeah, okay,
But there, the max is 6 feet.
6 feet, okay.
But there could be portions of it because it's undulating. Some of it could be higher, some of it.
Sure. But it appears that from your photo, when you show the townhomes, that they're seem to be at a level height. So it's the Palomo property that's actually different in topography, while the next photo, it's the one. Yeah, so you can see it's level at their height going across. It's the Palomo property, the subject property, that has different elevation changes. So, okay.
And this is the lowest point, the very cross of the founding basin.
Got it. Okay. So the next question I have is, so it appears, would you happen to know the summer palace, the setback, that appears to be there, excuse me, is that their backyard or side yard? Because there is a difference between side yard and backyard setback requirements. The only reason I'm trying to bring up that point is that you do have a townhome, so you have different elevations of view. So, these proposed buildings, depending with the property height difference, you can have, there's a reason why you have setback between neighbors, so that, when I open my kitchen window, I'm not seeing my neighbor in his bedroom. And so, when you have a height elevation, you can certainly lose some privacy when we're, so that, the other point I wanted, or since you made, I guess with Sang Brothers, what sounded like Sang Brothers was voluntarily acting as a good, a good neighbor to the Summer Palace. And what I think is typically a remedy in these cases is to have covenants, conditions, and restrictions that puts this into the deed, that makes those restrictions like no welding, no none of this. So that way, those covenants are understood and they're not voluntary. So they become part of, what is required or what can and cannot happen on that property, so that it allows the developer to be a good neighbor, and it's not a voluntary, because typically, I mean, Sang Brothers is, as a commercial business, they're authorized to operate commercially, and they can operate at hours that are granted them by law, but they did everything voluntarily, which not necessarily means that, you know, the new business may operate that way. So to keep some sort of, you know, give the piece or give some compromise that there are, you know, some covenants, conditions, and restrictions that because of its proximity, or even like you said, the wall that is the contention, that those activities are limited to that section. That, you know, it's just so that they're neighborly and there's no, you know, contention later on. So that's just one of my comments on that, but I thank you for the presentation.
Mr. Mayor, that should the resolution come out in the paper, that you could include those in the resolution going to the land commission. Yeah, but those are addressed to Sang Brothers. In future, should Paloma fall to that situation, they also should not lean against the wall or within dwelling. That kind of stuff. Learning from the Sang Brothers experience.
Any further questions for Mr. Dmpc?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dmpc. Moving on, with number 2 presenter, Mr. Marvin Aguilar, for GLC's item C, the new business. This is going to be, GLUC Zone Variance application H2025-30. The applicant, Pipefish Services LLC, represented by TG Engineers, Mr. Marvin Aguilar. PC is requesting a zone variance for height for the proposed installation of a 40-foot high fire suppression water tank, which is 15 feet over the allowable 30 feet, and an 8-foot high perimeter fence, which is 2 feet over the allowable 6 feet height on lot 5040-1 and lot 5040-2 in the municipality of Dededo and in an M1 light industrial zone. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you for attending, NBC members. And my name is Borja. I'm representing the name of parakeet. In some cases, again, you may see them be called pegfish, as it was presented in this application. We are we are preparing to construct a 50,000 square foot, give or take, database center. I'm jumping ahead of myself. And in order for that data center to work or to get occupancy, we need to have fire suppression. And based on the fire suppression requirements, we need to go about 40 feet high on the water tank that needs to be built. So, as I mentioned, the purpose is to allow for a 45-foot water tank. It's going to go above about 15 feet above the required or allowable 30 feet. And the reason why we need this is in order it's designed this way so that it could meet the capacity to sustain an 8-hour refill requirement that's imposed by GFP. The final design will depend on the outcome of GW's direction on the overall water source capacity. So far right now, we really don't have any water capacity in that area. It's very, very low, let alone enough to support fire suppression needs for a facility this big. At the same time as well, our request for variance is dual. It's a dual action. We also want to incorporate an 8-foot security fencing system. It may be permitted according to Department of Land Management and DPW's interpretation of a fence height, which in typical commercial and domestic uses, it's permitted only up to 6 feet. But in this case, it's M1, and they're calling it a security fence. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later on and show you a nice pretty picture of that if we want to use. Again, it's a 50,000 square foot data center, similar to what is being built on Alupang, what we see already in Asan 80, and of course,
That's existing.
yeah, this. The property is zoned M1, and it allows for data centers, and I think our first NPC. This could be 12.
Or that was the land management.
That was the land management, I apologize. So, a bird's eye view of where we're located, this would be Route 34, better known as Dolores Point, Pinkeson Road, that takes you down to Pinkeson. The pink spot there, that's our location. We're up against the Quartet Workforce Housing Facility, about another 1,000 feet. You have the Northern Wastewater Treatment Plant, right here, and the, I forgot what they call this. It's the additional wastewater treatment plant. Yeah, it activated about 3 or 4 years ago. We had Dolores Point here, and if you were to drive from the entrance to Dolores Point, it's kind of cut off here. Maybe 800 to 1,000 feet away on the opposite side, that's where we're going to be located our lots. And here, as our bird gets a little closer, the lots kind of look like this. We've got lot 5040-1, 5040-2, we have wastewater treatment plant systems, programs, and the Quartet compound. All properties here pretty much are M1, and then we have some hotel zones on the opposite side, or the west side. We held 2 public hearings. We're holding 4 public hearings by the Dmpc, 2 public hearings by Vill, because our properties, -1 and -2, fall along the boundary of the 2 municipalities with the east side, west side, including portion thereof. That's about maybe 200 or 300 square meters of land, right there, about the size of a condominium in the Philippines. And the Dededo side, which is the majority of the property falling in the Dededo center. So thus far, these are the dates that we've had here. So this is essentially the last, hearing in the provisions of several public hearings that have to be met before we go before the Guam Land Use Commission. The security fencing is needed to prevent this quick breach of critical data infrastructure. So, although we can get hit, this is data center can get hit by in cyberspace. I don't know the jargon, not the jargon. You can also get hit physically. So we're talking folks who come to the fence, go in there, do whatever they need by malice or for whatever reason to steal data. So it has to be security has to be robust on both ends in that respect. The final design of the data center would dictate the location of our water tank. And I want to explain a little further why we're using 2 lots. Our option is to use, our option A, which is the preference, is to be on 5040-2. And our second option, option B, would be to put it on 5040-1. Quickly, this is the security fence. Again, as I mentioned earlier, land management and DPW, the kind of the fence, that it may be permitted because it's M1 and it's a security, it serves as a security feature more so than it is to try to keep your neighbor's dog from entering the property. Here is an idea of artist's rendition of how the property is going to look coming in from Route 34 or Pinkeson Road. You can see how robust their security area is with that lighting, and it just works its way all the way around the facility. In 5040-2, where we prefer to have our water tank, And again, this is just for the water tank. The data center can be built as we speak through a building permit. Because we don't have the high banks, this can be plotted out on, like, you know, as Tom mentioned earlier, you know, you build it and you build it later on when you get your variance. But as you can see, we're taking up all this area. And the property is kind of squared off or kind of rectangular off. But you notice this portion here, it's kind of, we're just leaving it alone. The reason being is that unfortunately these two properties, they have subground voids. So imagine a void, you're looking down like here, to Lux Point, is that void that takes you vertically. Well, there are some pockets and a network of voids occurring on these two properties, and perhaps maybe even onto the other property next door. And so they were identified in preliminary geotesting assessments. And before proceeding to go further to do a more intensive test, they said, well, we found some of them, and we're going to keep out of these areas. So more sturdy, more better foundation, foundation and integrity in this area that's going to serve as the foundation as you see it right now. Ergo, we decided to include 5040-2. I'm kind of bouncing it around a little bit, just in case the regulatory agencies tell us we need to move this water tank out. What does that mean? I just told you that you know we have voids in this area. More testing will have to be conducted so we can determine where we can put it if we are forced to move it out. Right now, it's looking pretty good. We may end up putting it in there. That's about 60% chance or 70% chance we're going to put it in there. But it was not a gamble. We didn't want to take the risk, and we were asked to include a lot 5040-2 in this high variance request. Here's another shot of it with the water tank within the facility, 5040-2. And here's a photo now. I mean, here's another shot, but a bird's eye shot, just giving you an idea of where this tank may be located if we were to put it out there. The optimum, of course, putting it in here. If we were to put it on the opposite side, we want to try to get it close to the facility as possible. Less wires, less piping, and peripheral requirements to support connectivity between the main facility and the tank itself. That's another shot of it. Our artist kind of hid it in the backside of this little arc. It's also important to know that we're not the only ones out here coming up for a zone variance for height in this area. In fact, we had NPLJ, and I must disclose, my wife's related to them. And they're coming in for what's that, a 7-story, perhaps maybe an 8 or 9-story, which would translate to about 70 to 90 feet high. Okay, perhaps even up to 100. We have also heater towers that was approved about 2 years ago, and they're coming up for about 220 feet or 22 stories, if you recall. So, you know, I don't have the profile to show the difference between heights, but we're proposing only 45 feet in here. So that being said, points and takeaways, and I was more elaborate when I spoke, forgive me, with the other public, during the other public hearings, but fire suppression is a necessary and mandatory component of this overall facility. That goes without saying. In order for you to switch it on and activate the program, you need to get approval from GFD before you even goes to applicants. I apologize. The design is based on current water pressure measured against the required fire suppression capacities dictated by code. So, you know, we have to meet an 8-hour refill rule. So people are asking, well, why don't you just put 2 tanks? Or why don't you make it, you know, shorter and fatter? Well, or why don't you put in a pump? Well, you can't pump it if you don't have it. So you have to have it containment enough so that, you know, you can put out the fire perhaps maybe a third or half of it, and then you'll have the chance to refill within an 8-hour period. Now, it still doesn't talk more, it doesn't justify enough to talk about the height with that reason. We need a smaller footprint. So our footprint is going to be, I think it's around 80 to 100, I'm sorry, 50 to 80 feet wide. That's given about 45 to be, I think, I know we're being reported, I think it's about 128,000 gallons. Okay, so, I have to go back, I should have put in the math to show you the formula to show you, what the capacity was that came up to the need for the additional 15 feet. So, the tank, and I emphasize this, the tank is driven by regulatory regulation and code. So unless water pressure is increasing, we're still working with waterworks on how we're actually going to try to loop the system. It's a big loop. It's going to come around, perhaps maybe through Cortec, around the quarry, shoot back down to the new GPA power station, and then back to the system. So it's a huge undertaking, and perhaps if that does occur at our expense, then it's going to provide that loop's water support for the entire area. So unless pressure is increased, water tank is the only option at this time. I don't want to take a chance, and we're sticking to that design plan for each approach. That being said, the zoning law was crafted to address the dilemmas as presented in this case. So we're not a condominium coming in saying we want to go high so we can see the ocean. Well, we need bigger space. We need this height because of the situation, exceptional circumstances with the properties themselves. Okay, it won't be detrimental to the public because it's a permitted use, and we're providing water support in case the system is upgraded, and it is consistent with the master plan because property is M1 that allows for data systems. So that being said, now that we have a form, we're requesting for a positive resolution. Again, my name is Marvin Aguilar. If you have any questions at this time, please answer.
Any questions?
Just more so comment, and you know, I know I'm glad that you mentioned the other developments, but what everybody visually can see is the GPA smokestacks. You know, and so
I forgot that.
yeah, so those definitely exceeded 45 feet. So you know, I think that you know, it's great to see, you know, expansion of you know, quality data centers. So obviously, if you have a data center, you have also, is it tied to a subsea landing station? Is that coming through?
So unfortunately, we're not part of that. So this is like broken into 3 components. We're doing some work with the C&E, those are the A&E with it. But for me, my job under TE is to work with this nightmare. But there are other parties and other components. So
Yeah, and it just seems, yeah, it has to be connected.
it's
Yeah. And so for us, what was mentioned was the data centers in PV, the data center for the AT&T, the one in GTA is construction located. So, you know, there's subsea cables being laid, come into data center, and the big critical infrastructure is keeping that place cool and then having the infrastructure to support emergencies and all those kind of things. So, it's a growing technology. I think that, we're fortunate to have the development. But I agree with you. I do know of, I was part of the Ivory Tower process, so full disclosure. So that's a 20 unit, that's two 20 units. It's actually close to the lots that he just showed. Two 20 unit, 200 plus units in that development. So in high comparison, it's minuscule to the end. So thank you. And I know we would love to have our very own Nick Garrido, Captain Nick Garrido here, but knowing that this is a GFD requirement, I can see the logic. I did work on a 20 unit condominium project with an existing building, and because it needed to comply with the new code, new owner, so it has to comply with the new code, required him to have a water tank in order because there wasn't enough pressure in the area. So I definitely understand what's happening there, and it's logical. So I think.
Well, for the record, I do recall 2 points that they did bring up during the GLM public hearing. We did it. There were 2 things that they did bring up. He said, well, what happens when you don't need that water tank anymore? We're always going to need that water tank. It's either going to support this program, okay, or it's going to support the community. And that's a concept that was used throughout the villages back in the day. So if you come up with like in Dededo, up here near the golf courses, if you see these huge cement tanks, those were water tanks to support the community. It's a concept that can come back again, and that's something that.
And I'd like to also add to that, that if another development comes near, let's say the lot right next to them, if the capacity is there, they can, with this particular project, they can even share access to the tank. So like he said, it can be servicing the community, so they doesn't have to, the neighbor business doesn't have to have another tank. They can share, the capacity is there for the 128,000 gallons, then they can share. And then they'll work out some, cost reimbursement or some trade-off.
Water power sewer.
Yeah, water power sewer. So that's I've seen that happen in businesses, and that definitely comes into as a benefit for having that ability.
The other thing too is that was a Supreme Court question to another question was, well, what happens when you're done with the data center? You're just going to have a warehouse. That's not going to be the case, we don't believe, because these data centers are, like you mentioned, popping up. I spoke with the senator today, I won't mention her name, but I asked her, I said, don't you think that Guam being a data hub for the entire region will be considered one of the top 3 industries? And she agreed. She says, actually, it might actually be the same. So it's just because of our location to the area. No one's going to FSM, flower, anywhere else. They're coming to Guam. And for whatever reason, I don't know whether not it's something, but it's the hub. There's somebody knows the answer.
Yeah, it's a big multi-billion-dollar project. There are undersea cables being laid there are agreements from country to country I was part of another project to service some of those, help service some of those landing stations. And they're talking from Australia to Japan, running through several islands. And so it's a great industry, and I think we're primed because I think our advantage is that for these signals, they
get better internet?
Yes. But for these signals, yeah, you're right. So the technology is that because it spans such a long distance, vast distance of the ocean, they need to come up to a landing station and the signal is boosted and then travels there. So yeah, it really causes efficiency and reliability and signal strength to be consistent throughout. So really fascinating.
Yeah, I think the terminology there is spun and thrown. So you spin that information up and you shoot it. So it's beating Starlink and all these satellite-based platforms and yes. faster internet, no delays in your Netflix.
Yes.
And anything else?
Any other questions for Mr. Aguilar?
So being said, thank you, city members, mayor, vice mayor, for us.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on that and later on the new business. So moving before we go any further, I'd just like to recognize our hardworking staff, Ms. Andrea Santos, Ms. Sharon Valencia, Ms. Lani Ferrer, and Ms. Trudy Glass. Thank you. So, okay, going on, committee report, 7:34 AMS, I haven't heard anything from them just yet. Item B, a committee report, USMC, on the 26th, September 26th, or the end of the month, they are wanting to do a project here in the village. They brought up with, cleaning up the front buffer strip and painting the vendors that are out there, so I still need to meet with them. Hopefully next week. I'm just waiting on a response from their representative to get back to me on that. Item C, sports, Coach Sam is not here to report as far as we got a few requests that came in for solicitation donation. We will address that because they're not leaving until the end of October, so we can address that at the next meeting. But I will also disseminate that information to via email or on our chat. Youth Congress, no report from the Youth Congress for this month. And item E, Vice Mayor.
Borja's last month's meeting, we are talking about the free market vendor fees. This one, we're not discussing right now, because I'm still doing my research as to when we want to implement the new fees. And it's best to finish my research and bring it up to the council on what my findings are, on what's the best vendor fees that we should start out with for the new fiscal year. In addition, the mayor will talk further about the buffer strip zone. We're still waiting for DOA to get information as to what happens to the revenue that we, and how we can get back what was taken. So that's about it for now until the next meeting.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Sorry, guys, I kind of went ahead a little bit there. So I want to go back real quick on the review and approval of minutes from August 13th from our last meeting. I believe you guys have received that. Yeah, you know. Get a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting in August.
To move to have the minutes.
We got a motion by Art, second by Ed. All in favor?
Aye.
Review and approval of the financial report of August.
Your attorney?